All right. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Talkin' Investing. Hope you guys had a good day. We had a green day with only one exception. We're here. I'm Tom. We got George. Hello, George.
My name's George.
What's happening? Uh-oh, your audio's freaking out again.
Oh, is it?
Now it's good. Now it's good. Okay. It just keeps popping in and out. George is on location. But I think we're good. Everybody letting us know in the chat if you can hear me, if you can hear George. And hello to everybody. And I'm going to right off the bat ask everybody to do us a favor and smash the like button. We missed last Friday's live stream. It was a travel day for me. That was the day, if you guys remember, all the computers went down. So I ended up out of pocket all day that day, but I did end up getting where I was going. So we missed one Friday live stream. We got to get ourselves back in the algorithm. So if everybody could do us a gigantic, huge, big favor and smash the like button, that will help a lot. Get that out of the way. Also, everybody should be feeling good. Bitcoin was up. We'll take a look. Bitcoin was up over 5% today. The Bitcoin miners were all green with one exception. They did not really, do kind of a leverage thing that you might have hoped that they would do, but we were green across the board. And this was a super strong end to a week that had its ups and downs. So it's always nice to end. It's pretty rare, and it's always nice to end the week on an up note, a nice green Friday. And I think this has a lot to do with the fact that we got the Bitcoin conference going, and we got a big speaker coming tomorrow. George, any thoughts on that one?
You're talking about the Bitcoin conference?
We got the Bitcoin conference. We got, of course, the big speaker I'm referring to. We got Trump tomorrow. So I see Pogo, the crypto clown, asking thoughts on the Trump talk tomorrow. And I see a few other people in the chat asking. So what are our thoughts? Well, what are your thoughts? What are we thinking?
I'm excited. I can't wait to see what he has to say.
Well, that right there, I think it's going to put a lot of eyeballs on the Bitcoin conference that maybe haven't been there in the past. So that in and of itself is a good thing. And I mean, we've had high profile. JD saying Kathy Woods was speaking, and she's been there many times. Michael Saylor's been there. We've had other big names, high profile people, but obviously, a former president and a presidential candidate. And, let's not forget, before all of that, Trump was star of the #1 show on TV for a decade. So he's a very high, whether you like him or you don't like him, and I'm sure opinions vary, he's probably, the most high profile person that there is. So they're going to be paying attention to what he has to say. And there's some people that are hopeful that he'll have some big news. So it seems like the Bitcoin conference always disappoints on the big news front, right? There's always hype that there's going to be all this giant news, and then, it's a little bit business as usual. But maybe tomorrow is the exception.
I think we should do a poll, Tom. What do you think?
I think we should do a poll. Should we do a poll on the conference?
Sure.
And then I'm going to go through an article. There's, of course, one thing that not everybody, but people are potentially expecting Trump to talk about. So let's do a poll on that. And then I will go through an article. There have been 100 articles written on it, but I've got one on the thing that everybody's hoping Trump will do or, at least talk about. And then I'm going to talk about something else that I'm almost positive he'll be talking about, which I think is going to be very good news. A lot of us here follow Bitcoin miners even more so necessarily than Bitcoin, or at least equally. And I think that speech is going to be really big for the Bitcoin miners. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Interesting, Tom. I can just tell you, come December, or I should say next January, we could have two different worlds.
Depending on the outcome.
Depending on the outcome of the election, we could have two different worlds.
Well, there's no doubt. We got, and it always feels this way in the United States, at least for the last, 15 or 20 years. It feels like every election is like the biggest election in the history of time. And this one feels no different, maybe even more so. And I have a clip of another presidential candidate that had something to say interesting about Bitcoin. So let me post this poll
The
first.
person that actually should be the nominee for the Democratic Party, that person?
I believe we're talking about the same person, George.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
Look, if we're gonna, I'm not gonna talk about politics, but I always talk about politics, so I guess it doesn't matter. It's really disappointing how they didn't run anybody in the Democratic Party at all, and it's kind of disappointing to think that there's no primary.
This was an unprecedented process. These are uncharted territory, strange days. There's a lot more to come, so we got to pace ourselves between now and the election. I think there's going to be all kinds of ups and downs and this and that. But at the moment, let me go. So I just posted this. Let me go to an article that's talks about what the question that I'm asking here. What happened to it? Okay. So, this is one of many articles. I just grabbed this one. Asset manager says Trump admin may make Bitcoin strategic reserve asset. Bitcoin has a supply cap of 21 million, as we all know, making it an excellent hedge against currency devaluations and geopolitical turmoil. So there's the concept out there that, if Trump is elected, he will make Bitcoin a strategic reserve asset. So there aren't many of those. And effectively what that would mean is, and this article goes on to say something I didn't know in specific, but effectively what that means is the U.S. would be stockpiling Bitcoin like it stockpiles gold, like it stockpiles oil. Those are strategic reserves. And so, right, welcome to Talkin Investing. This would be, if that happens, and this person actually thinks it's not going to happen if we go on to read this article. So we'll see what you guys think. I think whether it happens or not, ultimately, Trump's going to talk about it and say, I think he's going to say it's, part of his policy that he's considering. Sour Gaming, member for 17 months. I'll get back to this. I just want to go to a member chat that's posted here. 17 months ago, my life changed forever. These two guys will forever go down as having one of the biggest impacts on my life. 80K Bitcoin coming in August. So Sour Gaming, thank you for that shout out. I'm glad that you found us and you have been a fantastic member. We have a lot of longstanding members. Sour Gaming is one of them. And I know you've shared some of your stories with the members and they've been inspirational. So thank you for that. And congratulations on a lot of success in the market.
You didn't tell me to bring tissues today. I didn't bring any. But thank you, Sour. I think it's a two-way street for me. It's been amazing to think about this because doesn't it finally feel like we're going to finally turn the corner on this?
You and I had a conversation off camera. We're kind of both feeling we're usually not both optimistic at the same time. So that's one of the things about tuning in as we discuss things. Right. We definitely don't always have the same opinion on everything in the short term. I think longer term we're more similar, but I'm pretty optimistic right now. And that doesn't mean I think, next week we're going to, 100,000. My conviction in this bull market continues to grow. And there's some specific reasons, some of which we'll talk about today, some things that are going on inside the industry, outside of the industry. I just feel like we're building massive momentum. I know we are in a consolidation period. We are now more than 4 months into trading inside of a range, which we are at the moment almost exactly in the middle of. Sour Melon Gaming finished by saying 80K Bitcoin coming in August. So I think that's possible. I mean, we're a few days away from the beginning of August, and 80K Bitcoin in August would be very bullish. That would obviously take out the previous all-time high of just under 74,000, which we hit in March, which took out the previous all-time high from the previous bull market back in November of 2021 of $69,000. So, I mean, we're already ahead of schedule. We're moving in the right direction. And I think, that it's like the a coil. The longer they push this coil together, and it's been 4.5 months, and this is very typical around and after a halving, the more I think, when it pops, I feel like it's coming, and we're going to have to be patient, and a lot of people aren't going to make it, and a lot of people already haven't made it. So I guess time will tell. Midway, who has been a member for a long time as well, thank you for the super chat. That is very much appreciated. Midway said, I established a large position in Bitdeer. Bitdeer might wind up being the #1 or #2 biggest Bitcoin mining company by the end of 2025. They'll have enough megawatts online to support 100 plus exahash by the end of 2025 and 150 exahash by mid 2026. So very quietly, right? I know we haven't talked a lot about Bitdeer. They don't get a lot of press. I think it's a Singapore-based company, and for some reason people have dismissed it a little bit, but it's on a nice run, and they are growing. They are very quietly growing rapidly, and I do have an article on Bitdeer because there was some talk. There's a few of these companies that I think there's potential buyouts in the works, and I'm going to talk about why I think none of those takeovers or buyouts are going to happen, in my opinion. And and it's very simple. I'll tell you why. I think the people that are trying to buy these companies are trying to basically steal them for a price that's just not going to happen. And that includes, which we will talk more about later, there was news from Riot and Bitfarms regarding their ongoing, what I'll call a feud. And, I don't think that one's going to happen, in my opinion, either. But I could be wrong. So yeah, Midway, I mean, let's pull up that chart here for Midway, as long as he's talking about Bitdeer.
What is it? Microsoft. What was it? What's it? MicroStrategy to 20K. You're not a member right now. According to this, you're not a member. I don't know what happened.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and it doesn't say that you're a member.
I know you're a long-time member, but at the moment, it's maybe it lapsed or something. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
We're at 41 likes. If everybody could do us a huge favor and smash the like button, it does help our stream out a lot, and it helps the channel out a lot, so it is greatly appreciated. We definitely want to at least get 100 likes. We were getting 500 likes at one point. I think people have gotten lulled in this 4.5 months now of not only is Bitcoin going sideways, the Bitcoin miners are going sideways, and I know it's probably driving a lot of people nuts. It's very frustrating. So
this is the thing we were talking about to possibly happen for our channel before the end of August.
Before the end of August, yes.
Yes. Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for the month of August, but I'm not putting a time frame. We'll see what's happening. So you can see Bitdeer is not back to, it did hit a high. This was a year ago in September of 2023. So the December, all the Bitcoin miners hit a local high. You can see it had a gigantic run up from the lows from October to December. This thing pulled, almost 400%. And like the rest of the Bitcoin miners, it had a big pullback. It's off of its recent highs, as are almost every single Bitcoin miner. But Bitdeer in specific is about 22% off of its recent highs. There are some that are 30 or 40% off of their recent highs. But, looking at this the other way, from May, which is just a couple of months ago until now, it is up still almost a double. And, the market cap, if we go take a look at Bitdeer, obviously this is Yahoo Finance, so these numbers are not necessarily exactly accurate, but $1.3 billion leaves an awful lot of room to the upside. And I'm going to get to an article that talks about how there's an analyst that thinks all of the Bitcoin miners are grossly undervalued based on something, not even for their Bitcoin mining. And so we'll get to that. So there's a lot of these that have a lot of room left. And these, this is a $1.3 billion market cap. And of course, at the bottom of the crypto winter, all these were significantly less than this. So these seem like bigger numbers, but, in the modern market that we're in, $1 billion is still a very, very, very small company. And that still leaves a lot of room for growth. And just to look at the largest by market cap, Marathon's a $6 billion market cap. They are the largest out of all the Bitcoiners by market cap. They're still not back to the market cap that they were at in the previous bull market. So obviously their price is nowhere near where they are, but even with all the dilution and the monumental amounts of growth they've had, they're still not back to the market cap they were in November of 2021. So that leads me to believe that really still, for the companies that succeed, there's still a lot of potential upside. So, I always got to say, obviously, this is not financial advice. If you're going to invest your own money, please do your own due diligence and, have your own conviction. But when I look at, things in that way, and I look at Marathon, which is, many, many multiples larger than it was in November of 2021. They were stuck in the mud, if you remember back then. And, now they're over 30 exahash. And, they're still not back to their old market cap. Bitcoin's back to where it was. And, so I think the Bitcoin miners historically have ran a little later than Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin still hasn't taken its big run. And I think the Bitcoin miners really haven't even started what is to come. Crypto Fever said, been buying Iron sub $10 this week. Yeah, Iron, I just kind of held my shares through this, and it's had a big pullback. So under $10, I do think that's going to feel like a steal. And when you consider, I'm going to go to that chart as well. I mean, this was closing in on a $16 stock. This got to $15.75 in July. We're still in July. This was 3 weeks ago. So, I said some have had a bigger pullback than others. Well, Iron had a massive run up. So, this is a part of how volatility goes. But Iron's 40% off of its highs from less than 3 weeks ago. So, Crypto Fever's adding to his position. And, this could end up looking like a steal. And you can see I have a yellow line here on this chart. And I do think there's some potential, support under $10. This peaked in December of 2023, and then it took that out and went much higher. And it wasn't random, right? They went from 5 exahash to 10 exahash very quickly. They had announced plans to get to 20 exahash by the end of this year, and they revised those plans to get to 30 exahash by the end of this year, 2024. So, Iris Energy has been growing. There's probably a few of these that are standing out, above the crowd in their growth plans, and definitely Iris Energy is one of them. Let's take a look at the poll. Thanks again to Midway. Much appreciated.
I think it might be time to do a new poll to see which has the most value right now. Which Bitcoin miner has the most value, Tom?
Let's do it. Let's round out this poll. Will Trump talk about making Bitcoin a reserve asset at the Bitcoin conference? Boom, 80-20. We just clicked to 80-20. So 80% say yes, they think he's going to talk about that at the Bitcoin conference. 20% say no. I'm going to end that poll, but I will just end the Trump conversation as he's going to speak tomorrow at the Bitcoin conference. I think people are underestimating the fact that as pro-Bitcoin as Trump is, he's actually even more pro-Bitcoin miners in this tiny, tiny niche space. If you take all the publicly traded Bitcoin miners put together, their market cap is very small compared to, any other industry that a president would be paying attention to. And he's met already once with a lot of the Bitcoin mining CEOs. He's come out and said he wants all the Bitcoin mining to be in the U.S. Now, obviously, that is hyperbole. For those of you inside and outside of the U.S., you know that that's never going to happen. That's nobody's realistic goal. But, when a politician says something like that, essentially they're conveying that they're very pro-Bitcoin mining. And I think, you can expect their policies to line up pro-Bitcoin mining. So, we don't know. Obviously, we don't know who's going to win the election yet. So all of this is still early day speculation and conjecture. But he's one of the two major candidates is extremely pro-Bitcoin, but even more so, in my opinion, pro-Bitcoin miner. So I think that's going to be a good thing for these Bitcoin miners. Certainly can't hurt. Okay, let's get our next poll. So you want to say which miner is the best value?
Yeah, that's going to do the biggest run from here until the end of the year. How about that? It might have to be a multiple poll with a runoff.
True.
Or you could do like a top tier one and then like a second tier one. Maybe we could do that. Because, you got your $1 billion ones and then you got your, the multi-billion dollar ones and then you got your $1 billion ones.
So you want to start out with the biggest four, and then we'll do a little bit of a round robin. We'll take the winners and put them in a winner's bracket and see what happens. We were talking about iron, so we'll put that one in there. So we'll take the top four, which I believe are... Might not be fair to put them all in the same...
It
we should
might
take...
not be, but...
You want to take two big ones and two medium ones?
Yeah. But the two medium ones should do better than the two big ones.
That's hard to say. We can do this a bunch of different. We got time. We can do this a bunch of different ways. I got a feeling I know which one's going to come in last place by far, but I'm not going to say. I will be interested to see. So we'll start with these. So new poll, which Bitcoin miner will perform the best by the end of the year from right now? Iron, CleanSpark, Mara, or Riot. So those are the four largest by market cap. For a moment, Iron was larger than Riot by market cap, and now that has reversed and Riot's much bigger. We'll see. That could flip-flop again in the future. So if your Bitcoin miner isn't on here yet, we'll do this a couple more times and see if we can get to a consensus. I expected one of these to get totally destroyed, and that's not happening right now at all. So I don't want to bias anybody, not that anybody listens to what I say anyway, but I'll save my opinion until after. And Crypto Fever said, this isn't the part of the cycle to get cute trading in and out of these names. So I mean, that's my strategy. I'm not going to risk trying to time this and miss the run. So if everything gets where I think it's going to go, I will be exceptionally pleased with the results. And I can look back and say, you know what? If I had traded this perfectly, I could have made an extra, I could have quadrupled my money or this or that. But, nope. First of all, nobody plays it perfectly. And second of all, I'm expecting multiple 2, 3, 4, 5, 6x returns on a lot of these. So, if I get a 5x return and I didn't swing trade it on the way, I'm okay with that because, outside of these stocks, this obviously is the highest risk part of my portfolio. Getting a double over 1 or 2 years is usually considered a grand slam home run. Now, with retail investors, I think we tend to invest in higher risk, higher reward stocks. So we're looking for big returns. Otherwise, you could just park your money in the SPY and, let that happen as time goes by.
Drum roll for the 10K challenge.
Oh, yeah.
It is amazing how much this goes up and down, Tom. The last time you and I spoke of it, was it around the stream for the members?
I can't remember which stream it was on, but it may have been the members.
So we got up to like $8,400. We're back down to $7,100.
Yeah, the Bitcoin miners are down. Like even today, for instance, and this is where you got to have more patience. Today, so if we look at, IBIT, which is the BlackRock ETF, day over day, this was up 5.3%, which means from the close of the equity markets yesterday to the close today, Bitcoin was up 5.3%. So there have been days where on a day where Bitcoin makes that's a giant move. That's one of the big green candles. So sometimes on those days, the Bitcoin miners will be up 15%, 18%, 20%. The smaller ones, maybe even more than that. So we didn't get that kind of move. They've been lagging. The two have not been running hand in hand. Ultimately, I think they'll both end up, where we think they're going, but they're not moving, simultaneously. The correlation in the very short term on a day-to-day basis just hasn't been there at all. And I know that's hard. That makes it even more painful for a lot of traders. Or, if you're buying and holding and you see Bitcoin go up 5%, and for instance, if you hold TeraWulf today, that was the outlier. It was down 2.4% today. So, that may make you want to bang your head against the wall today. But if you go to TeraWulf's overall, they're up huge. Right? If I go down to, the beginning of June, so in less than 2 months, even after this giant pullback, TeraWulf's more than doubled. So yeah, it was triple, right? It was up 218%. So, a couple of weeks ago it was triple. So this is another one that's had a big pullback. So some of these that ran wild, this had a 30% pullback. Iris Energy or Iron had a 40% pullback. So this has been a rough couple of weeks for the Bitcoin miners, but part of that is because you can see, these were some, pretty parabolic moves to the upside in June and the first half of July. So a little bit of equaling things out over time, that can happen. And any given day, right? Look at the difference. Core Scientific was up 8.5% today, but I remember another day this week where that was the lagger on the day. So, you just never, any one day. And I know, I look at this multiple times a day, every day, of course, but I don't buy and sell based on it. But there's days where, it's frustrating. There's days where you feel like, man, I got ripped off today. I didn't get my move. But I'm still thinking most of the stuff that I sell is going to be in 2025. That's kind of my plan. Obviously, that's subject to change based on, if things change or don't work out the way we think.
What could cause you to change your opinions, Tom?
On Bitcoin, if we see a couple of different things, right? If the single biggest thing that I would worry about, and I just don't think this is going to happen at all, if on the 1 day or the 3 day time frame, we see we're now almost 20 months into a bull market for Bitcoin. If we were to see a reversal from a technical standpoint into what looks like not a short term, right? I'm going to go to the 1 day, right? We have pullbacks all the time. We just had this pullback, but that did not from a technical standpoint put us into a bear market. If we started forming lower lows and it looked like, there's a reversal, and you know, in theory, you would think there would be some reasons that went along with that. So, you know, if you start to see some macro things happening, some Bitcoin reacting, you know, if there's policy changes, the list to me in my mind is a list of stuff that I just really don't think is going to happen. I'm just not expecting. That would kind of be the cancellation of Bitcoin, because we have not at all played out this 4-year cycle yet. Obviously, there's no guarantee that this 4-year cycle will play out the way that previous have, but there's a lot of indications that it is moving that way, and the adoption is at an all-time high, and it continues to grow. And I'll go, you know, this will lead naturally into an announcement that one of the Bitcoin miners made today that I think is probably the most bullish press release I've ever seen from any Bitcoin miner since this whole thing started. So how's that for hyperbole?
Well, let's hear this drum roll.
Marathon, who now wants to be called Mara, apparently.
Mara.
So Iris Energy wants to be called Iron. Marathon wants to be called Mara. Mara purchases $100 million of Bitcoin. That's not the part I'm talking about. I'll just take a quick break. Mr. J, who's been a member for 9 months, thank you, Mr. J, said, I think rate cuts in November. So hold that thought, Mr. J. We'll do a poll on that and see what people think. I think rate cuts earlier than that.
Me too. Yep.
But we'll see what people think. Thanks for that, and I got it on my list, and we're definitely going to talk about that as well.
30 days. Sorry, go on.
Marathon buying $100 million of Bitcoin. In and of itself, that is extremely bullish, but that is not even the most bullish part of this press release. So, Mara updates treasury policy to HODL all Bitcoin. Current Bitcoin holdings surpass 20,000 Bitcoin. So, Marathon now, out of all the Bitcoin miners, has by far more than double anybody else. They just spent $100 million buying Bitcoin. So, you know, these are industry insiders. And some of you may love Marathon and some of you may hate Marathon, but they are the largest Bitcoin miner. They mine the most Bitcoin of any publicly traded company. They're the largest by market cap. They have the most exahash, on and on and on. And, I mean, they are sending an extremely bullish signal here. They not only did they spend $100 million to buy Bitcoin, signaling essentially they think at this price in the mid 60,000s, they feel like Bitcoin is wildly undervalued. Otherwise, they wouldn't be spending their cash. But in addition to that, let's see. I want to read right from this. Furthermore, effective immediately, Mara will adopt a full HODL approach towards its Bitcoin treasury policy, retaining all Bitcoin mined in its operations. And will periodically, so on top of that, so they're gonna hold every single Bitcoin they mine from now on, and on top of that, periodically make strategic open market purchases. So you could not possibly be more bullish than this position, because remember, in order to do this, there's the other side of this equation. Marathon has to pay for the for their Bitcoin mining operations. So they have to pay their direct costs, energy, etc. They have to pay all their overhead. They have to pay for their CapEx because they have huge growth plans. And on top of that, they're going to spend money to buy Bitcoin. So that's a lot of money going out the door. And they're not going to sell any of their Bitcoin. So they are either going to have to continue to dilute. They're going to have to maybe potentially, what I gleaned from this is I think they're going to try to do something, a mini MicroStrategy type of approach with some convertible debt, which they already have some convertible debt. You know, if they were to borrow 100 million or 500 million or whatever the case may be, and it's due, you know, in 2028 or 2030 or something like that. I'm just trying to understand, with all the money going out the door, they're not going to sell any Bitcoin. Where's the money come from for all that? So, you know, that's the other half of this equation. So that means they are willing to either through debt or equity hold every single Bitcoin that they mine going forward and buy more on top of that. So to me, you know, that's the most bullish thing any Bitcoin miner has done. And it's not like a small Bitcoin miner doing this. They by far mine the most Bitcoin. And I think that trend, you know, will likely continue into the future for the rest of this year. Now, obviously, at some point, they're going to change this policy. They can't do this every single month forever. But I think what they're saying is we think we're early in this 4-year cycle. So I expect, in my mind, I expect this to be the next 1-year policy for them. Obviously, subject to change, just like all of us. But so they say, quote, adopting, and I'm sure this is Fred Thiel, their chairman and CEO, adopting a full HODL strategy reflects our confidence in the long-term value of Bitcoin. So this is what the Bitcoin mining companies are doing. So this is another thing that later we'll get to. We've got kind of a group of Bitcoin miners that are hodling, and we have a group of Bitcoin miners that hold no Bitcoin and just sell all the Bitcoin that they mine. So it will be interesting to see if any of that group switch philosophy. And it will also be interesting to see, if one of those groups performs better than the other group, going forward. So in other words, if Bitcoin runs to 80,000, 100,000, 120,000, are these companies like Marathon, Riot, CleanSpark, those are the ones that are adding to their HODL position. HUT does have a big HODL position, but they're not really adding to it. They don't mine very much Bitcoin, but they have over 9,000 on their balance sheet when last reported. So, are those companies going to benefit more? There's a lot of variables in these Bitcoin miners. There's another variable altogether. A lot of these companies have started to do high performance computing / AI type stuff. Are those companies going to perform better? And I think it's going to be, week to week, month to month, depending on what's happening. And we've seen some of that. And that's part of the giant volatility we've seen. But to me, I was really surprised to read this press release. Not even so much that they went out and bought $100 million, but their change to a full HODL strategy, I think, is a big deal. So out of our first group of 4 that we have in our poll, there is no clear winner. CleanSpark at 32% is in first place. Iron and Marathon are at 24% and Riot at 21% in almost a 3-way tie. Now it's 23, 23, 22. So I think we're going to have to slice this up a different way, George, because it was pretty much a tie other than CleanSpark. And there has seemed to have been, CleanSpark usually wins these polls, or at least is a finalist.
Who did you think would be last?
I thought Riot was going to get decimated in this poll, and they did not. They're 1% behind Iron and Marathon. The market's been pretty reluctant with Riot. It started to move a little bit. And that's one of mine that I'm holding on to and waiting for, but it looks like we're pretty spread out. Let's do a different group. We'll come back to these. Give me just a second while I type.
Type away, Tom. If you haven't done so, please like the stream. We greatly appreciate that.
So this time we'll go.
Uh-oh, Sean's calling. Should we put him live on?
No.
Sean, why are you hijacking the stream? Okay, see you, bye. He's jumping on. So we just got another guy to watch. Yay!
All right. Oh, we should say, let's do this.
Did you think Marathon would be, did you think Riot would be last?
I thought Riot was going to get beat up in that poll, but really it was CleanSpark and it finished exactly a 3-way tie, 22 to 22 to 22. So now we got 4 new companies. So out of these 4, which Bitcoin miner will perform the best the rest of 2024? Cypher, Wolf, Bitfarms, Core Scientific. So let's see what everybody thinks of these 4. Let's see if anybody starts to pull out of the pack here. All right, while we're doing that, there was a lot more news this week. So let's keep going through some of the Bitcoin miner news. We went through Marathon. We just went through. They bought $100 million. For those of you who weren't here, they bought $100 million of Bitcoin, and they are going to HODL Bitcoin from now on, all the Bitcoin that they mine. So I think they have I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'll move on from Marathon. I think they have a number in their head. I think they want to get, I don't know if it's 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. I think they want to put some certain amount of Bitcoin on the balance sheet and ride that out. And then I do think they will sell a bunch of that. You know, if Bitcoin gets to 150,000, it would almost be irresponsible in my mind for them not to sell some of that and, you know, take profits. That's total speculation, of course, on my part, and that's my opinion. I don't know what they're going to do. Okay, Riot put out a few press releases this week. This one came out on July 23rd, which I think was Tuesday. Riot announces the acquisition. Yeah, this was after hours on Tuesday. We were actually on our members-only live stream. One of the members pointed this out to us while we were talking. Riot announces the acquisition of block mining, expands Riot's total potential power capacity to 2 gigawatts. So this did a bunch of different things. So this might be one of the reasons Riot didn't come in last place. They're starting to get a little more high profile. They got a lot of exahash online last month. I'm going to be very interested to see. Next week is August. We're going to get some of these operational reports next week. So, and then the ones that don't come next week will come the week after, of course. But I expect a big jump in Riot's numbers. You know, 25%, 30%. We'll see what happens. Okay, so here's what this does. Acquisition adds 60 megawatts of current operating capacity with the potential to quickly expand to 110 megawatts this year under existing agreements, and a pipeline to build to over 300 megawatts. And this is in Kentucky. So this represents growth and diversity, right? Because their Riot is by and large in Texas. So I think this is nice to see. The other thing this does, transaction immediately adds 1 exahash to Riot's existing self-mining hash rate, with a potential to add up to 16 exahash by the end of 2025. So if you go through Riot's presentation, they talk about getting to 40 exahash in 2025, but that's organically through what they're doing. Things like this, they've got some other big pieces of the puzzle they're looking for. So I think from an exahash standpoint, from an energy capacity standpoint, I think they're going to try and stay real tight with Marathon. And there's a couple others trying to vie for, you know, these top positions. But right now, Marathon and Riot are pretty far ahead of the pack. Although we do have a couple. Somebody pointed out Bitdeer, from an energy standpoint, they are growing out their infrastructure massively. Iron is growing out their infrastructure massively. And we've got a lot of companies with big growth plans. But this adds a massive amount of potential, and it adds some immediate exahash. So all of this is good stuff. Total consideration, $92 million. Riot paid 18 million of that was cash and 74 million in stock. So, you know, they didn't use a lot of their cash. And Riot, like Marathon, Riot has a significant amount of liquidity, over $1 billion between their cash and their Bitcoin HODL. So they didn't have to use much of that to make this happen. Obviously, if they hope to turn this into 16 exahash, they're going to have to use money to build out the infrastructure, buy the machines, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these companies with these gigantic plans, you know, they need access to capital, and they'll probably continue to dilute. I don't think a lot of this is going to be debt, and if it is debt, it'll be convertible debt, in my opinion. So this was one of 2 things that happened with Riot this week. The other one I'm going to wait for. I want to go through the rest of what's going on with the Bitcoin miners. We got our vote going. Which Bitcoin miner will perform the best? the rest of this year. Just so you know, we're kind of doing a round robin, so we'll grab 4 more after this. So if you guys want to vote on this one, we'll move on to the next group. There's a pretty clear winner in this group, unlike the last group, which was almost a 3-way tie, and then CleanSpark was ahead. Right now, Bitfarms is way ahead here, so cast your vote, and we'll swap this out pretty soon. Okay, so there was more news with Bitcoin miners. This was on Monday. Or was this Tuesday? Monday, Tuesday, July 22nd. Hive Digital announces plans to build 100 megawatt hydroelectric data center in Paraguay, targeting to double revenue and increase hash rate to over 12 exahash. So they're at 5.5 exahash right now, I believe, when they last reported. This would get them, they're saying, to 12.1 exahash. They're another one that has some diversity geographically speaking. We're starting to see, you know, there was that Paraguay scare, which particularly hit Bitfarms in the short term, but it seems like that's all in the rear view mirror. A lot of the companies are starting to move into Paraguay, and this is going to be half their operations. So Paraguay is one of the few countries on this earth. They have this massive hydroelectric, a lot of which goes unused, or they sell for pennies on the dollar to the surrounding countries. So there's a lot of opportunity for these Bitcoin miners to come in, buy this energy at a cheap price, and everybody wins, because even at what would be considered a cheap price, it's still more than Paraguay's getting for the energy right now. So it's win-win. I think we're going to see a lot more of this. This is a big increase for Hive. This would still leave them, out of the 12 Bitcoin miners that we follow, this would still probably make them the smallest of the 12 Bitcoin miners. We were following 19. There's 7 more that just turned into microcap/nanocap Bitcoin miners, you know, that have 1 or 2 or 3 exahash. So, you know, now out of the 12 we follow, the smallest one, by, you know, the end of 2025, this would be the smallest one at 12 exahash. And then they may announce more growth plans between now and then, but this is more than a double. And well, that's not fair. I do have to consider Bit Digital is right now probably planning on less growth than this as well. So Hive and Bit Digital are the 2 smallest by market cap. They're both under $500 million in market cap, and they're the 2 smallest exahash. The difference being, while Hive does have some high-performance computing, Bit Digital has a big high-performance computing contract, so they do have a significant other revenue stream. And they are not alone. Obviously, we know Core Scientific has a massive, if it plays out, a multi-billion-dollar contract over a 12-year period for high-performance computing. So let's see what's happening here. Should we close this out? Bitfarms, looks like Bitfarms is winning this poll. 43%. Out of these 4 companies. I'm surprised at this. Cypher coming in last place. So people losing faith in Cypher, maybe?
Core. I voted for Core, so.
Core came in second at 30%. Bitfarms at 43%. And those are
I would have been Bitfarms end of 2025, but not 2024.
Well, and we're right. I mean, there's a lot. At the other, you know, this situation that's hanging over their head that we'll talk about also, you know, could impact their price in the short term, because some stuff happened between Riot and Bitfarms this week. I want to go.
Really?
What
happened now?
Well, there was some back and forth, but I want to save that for a minute.
Okay.
Somebody's asking me, will you buy Mara now on this bullish news? So I already own Mara. That is one of the 5 that I own. So I've built out all my positions. At this point, I am now holding. My strategy is to hold these through to what I think is going to be, you know, the peak that I think will probably happen sometime in the year 2025. So again, obviously not financial advice, but yeah, Mara is one of my positions that I hold.
Do you think I'm the only person that took out a mortgage to buy Bitcoin?
No, I don't.
Okay. I was thinking about that the other day.
Well, you want to talk about somebody who took out a mortgage, although it's not quite the same. MicroStrategy has been borrowing money. I mean, that is their strategy. Borrow money, buy Bitcoin. And for them, most of that is convertible debt at much higher prices. So I think they got a golden equation going on at MicroStrategy. I don't own them. That's one of the few companies that I did buy and sell. But they had a big up day today, unless they tanked at the end of the day. Let's see. Yeah, they were up 9% today. So that was one of the big winners on the day. That was the big winner. The only thing that was better than that was BitX, which is the 2x leverage. So obviously that did 2x what Bitcoin did. But other than that, MicroStrategy at 9.1% was the and I know they're not a Bitcoin miner, but by popular demand, we have them on our list because obviously they're basically a direct play on Bitcoin at this point. We're at 82 likes. If you guys could do us a favor, if you just got here, if you haven't smashed the like button yet, if you could smash the like button, we're trying to get to 100 likes, get ourselves back in the algorithm. I missed last Friday. I was traveling. So that's the first Friday live stream I've missed in over a year. So we'll try to get a streak going again here.
So 2025, Tom, I've actually become you, and I'm not trading either.
You're going to buy and hold from here.
Yeah, I just, it's too risky right now. I think Crypto Fever said it best.
You did a lot of successful trading along the way. I know you had good weeks, you had bad weeks, but now you're holding.
I got the 7 figures, and now I'm way in the 6 figures.
Okay, well, I think there's a lot of room to the upside. Obviously, my opinion, not financial advice, but I think the run has not yet begun, despite this nice green day we had today.
I include the decimal points, just so everybody knows.
Just going to switch to the one-day chart for Bitcoin for a minute. And then I want to go through an article that I think is very interesting that pertains to the Bitcoin miners and the potential for them to have big run-ups for a reason that isn't even mining Bitcoin. But before that, I really think this is a nice-looking chart because, we bottomed out. We had a big pullback. Right this is the biggest pullback we've had since the bull market started. This is our 5th pullback of 20% or more. The other ones were between 20 and 23%. If we go from the top to the bottom of this one, this was more like 27%. So still not 30. The last time around we had 30s, 35%. We had a 50+% pullback. So, the volatility is real. I think 20 is the new 30 for this cycle just because there's so much more adoption, including the Bitcoin ETFs. I know sometimes FUD moves us in a direction for short periods of time, but you can see, even this bottoming out was just a giant candle wick down on the one-day time frame down to 53,500. From the bottom, on July 5th, we're up 26%, almost 27%. So, but more important than that, we had this green line that was resistance back here in May, and then we bumped into this as resistance at the beginning of July. However, since then, we bottomed out and we moved right through this. So now all of a sudden, twice, this seems to have turned into support. So, that's some short-term stuff, but I think it's encouraging. I don't think we're done with this move to the upside. Of course, in the short term, who knows? We've seen anything can happen. And even inside of, you see this nice move to the upside, but, we had 3 red days in a row in the middle of that. So, this can terrify people. This was 1 red day, 2, 3. And honestly, yesterday, for a while, we were having another giant red day. So, you know, in the middle of the day yesterday, it seemed like we were 4 days into Bitcoin just moving in the wrong direction fast. But we caught this line of support and have had 2 nice days since then. So I'm pretty encouraged. This, just so that you guys know, this kind of aqua line, whatever you want to call this color, light blue, this is where Bitcoin was last Friday when the U.S. equity markets closed. So this is a week over week. So you can see, even with this big pullback and bounce, we did end up this week a little bit higher, very, very close, but a little bit higher. And we'll go to the 15-minute and see, you know, it was in the middle of the trading day today. We broke above this line and we've held above it, including till now. So, you know, almost no move week over week. So Bitcoin flat. The Bitcoin miners were down a little, but, you know, finished strong on Friday with a giant move to get back to this line. So, you know, that was, to me, today was a very nice day. When you look at the 1 day, you know, yesterday's recovery and then today having a nice green candle, this was solid performance. Just in these 2 days from the bottom to where we closed, you know, that was 6.5%. We'll end this poll that we're in the middle of. So Bitfarms in first place out of these 4 at 40%. Core Scientific in second place. There's less and less of a consensus. I think a lot of people, you know, there's 12 Bitcoin miners that we're following, and I'll just run down. Basically, it's Marathon. At one point, this was in order by market cap, but things move so quickly, I don't shuffle these around every day. Marathon, CleanSpark, Riot, Iris Energy, Core Scientific, TeraWolf, Bitdeer, HUT, Cypher, Bitfarms, Hive, and BitDigital. Those 12, to me, are the ones that are going to be meaningful going forward. The smallest one of these is larger. So there's a group underneath that: Argo Blockchain, DigiHost, Stronghold, Gree, Moss and Any, DMG Blockchain. All those put together, if you add up all those market caps put together, they're much smaller than just this one BitDigital, which is by far, you know, BitDigital and Hive are by far the smallest out of these 12. So that's why we went from 19 to 12. Everybody kind of voted on that a couple times. We all agreed these are so small. I'd still do leave them on the list on the side, but we don't really talk about them very much. We'll see if there's a potential buyout here somewhere over the rainbow. But that leads me to my next thing. I want to talk about a couple of potential buyout opportunities and a potential, you know, somebody came out and talked about why they think all the Bitcoin miners might be wildly undervalued. So let's just go through a couple of things if we could. First of all, we know that Core Scientific had a buyout offer from CoreWeave, which they rejected. So I thought that was a really low ball offer. They have a giant contract with CoreWeave on high performance computing. At the same time, you know, they tried to buy out the whole company. That offer was rejected. Riot put in an offer to buy out Bitfarms. That offer was rejected. That saga is ongoing, and we'll talk about that next. On top of that, we have 2 other companies. So this was an article. Bitcoin miner Bitdeer, which we talked about earlier, could be a potential takeover target. And this from Benchmark. The broker raised its price target to $16 a share, reiterating its buy rating. Benchmark said Bitdeer could be a potential takeover target. Core Scientific's deal with the AI hyperscale CoreWeave has helped drive a re-rating of the sector. That's not what I was looking for. Bitcoin miner Bitdeer has become an alluring takeover target, broker Benchmark said in a research report on Monday. So Bitdeer's value has been bolstered by the growing interest in crypto miners' energy assets from artificial intelligence and high-performance computing firms in recent months. So this is what's raising interest in these Bitcoin miners. They're looking at all of the energy capacity they have, and there's value in that regardless of, you know, this is regardless of the Bitcoin mining that they're doing. So I'm going to show one more of these and then get to an article that talks in depth about this. Bitcoin miner Cypher, they actually received a takeover offer. So According to a recent Bloomberg article, and this was over a week ago, Bitcoin miner company Cipher is considering a sale after receiving a takeover bid. The report cited unnamed sources who claim that the company is currently deliberating and consulting with advisors to gauge potential interest. So we don't know the details of this. We don't know exactly what's what. You can see they say that the share price jumped up to $8. If we look at Cipher right now, it has moved back down to $5.82. So it really popped up on that in a big way. It has pulled back. It was way over a $2 billion market cap, which tells me, you know, they must have got offered for $2.5, maybe $3 billion. We don't know. They didn't disclose. That's the extent of what we know. But there's two companies right there that, you know, have potential offers or are potential buyout targets. A couple of more offers have already been made. So that leads me to, let me find this article. Okay. So this came out this week as well, yesterday. Bitcoin miners have considerable upside from their power portfolios. And this from Bernstein. So investors can benefit by valuing the companies as efficient power shells with data center capabilities as opposed to just Bitcoin mining operations, the report said. So effectively, what this report is talking about and what all these are talking about is even if they were to not mine Bitcoin at all, there's value in these massive data centers they're building. Now, I would caution everybody, as you guys probably know, a Bitcoin mining data center does not equal a high-performance computing data center. They would have to be retrofit. There would be a lot of money to get from one to the other. They're different technologies, but the underlying infrastructure is there. The power purchase agreements are there, and there's value in that. And if you go down, I highlighted a sentence here. Miners trade at around a 90% discount to general data center valuations. So that's what this company is talking about. If you take the miners, they're trading at a 90% discount, you know, and you got to take this for whatever it's worth. I don't know, you know, they don't show their data that supports this, but that's a significant discount. And that doesn't count the fact that they're mining Bitcoin. This is just, you know, their data center capacity. So as we know, a lot of these companies, we just looked at this, a lot of these companies are getting, you know, a gigawatt, 2 gigawatts of potential power. And that's going to have increasing value as these high performance computing companies look to grow and expand. So I don't know, is there potential for some of these companies to just trade out, not even really on the value of their Bitcoin mining operations, but just on the value they've built by becoming, you know, large sources of energy? Power portfolios, as they're referring to it. So, you know, if they're doing both, and, you know, if this company is right, 90% is a massive discount. That, you know, so you're talking about some of these companies at $1 billion, you know, what if they got a $7 billion offer? And that's not even a 90% discount. That's less than that. But what if they got, you know, a company trading at $6, if they got a $20 offer or a $12 offer or whatever it is, the shareholders are going to put some deep consideration into that. So we'll see. It's real early. There's massive hype around this high performance computing and the, you know, the power requirements necessary. And there's another piece of this puzzle. Bitcoin miners require a lot more energy capacity than high performance computing machines do. So, you know, if somebody were to buy this amount, they could do an awful lot more. Having said that, the infrastructure to build out is multiples. You know, it's 10x the CapEx to create a high performance data center than it is to create a Bitcoin mining data center. So a lot of variables there, but it's something to think about. There's the potential that we might see a buyout out of left field of a Bitcoin mining company, and it really won't even have anything to do with how they're performing as a Bitcoin miner. Crypto Fever said, some of us have been trying to tell you guys the value in owning infrastructure and energy. And Robin said, yes, we have. So, yeah, we've had members talking about this for a long time. So, you know, and who knows what'll happen, but we have, with all the buyout talks that we've had, we haven't seen yet, any of the big companies actually get bought out. And, someone's saying, how legit is that rumor? And we don't know. Supercomputers are hungry for energy. So, right. And it's only just begun. And we don't know where all this is going. And meanwhile, the Bitcoin miners have been amassing massive energy portfolios. So we'll see if they get, if that's happening, if Bitcoin's on a run, we'll see, right? These are all things that have a lot of potential upside for these Bitcoin miners. So in that same vein, there was another company that had a press release this week, which is Iron, and it's right to this point. Iron increases Childress power capacity from 600 megawatts to 750 megawatts. So just exactly what we're talking about. If you want to talk about an energy portfolio, this increases the company's total secured grid-connected power capacity to 2,310 megawatts or 2.3 gigawatts. 910 megawatts immediately available power. 510 megawatt data centers planned in 2024. That's going to get them to 30 exahash of Bitcoin mining. Then to 910 in 2025, to 1.4 in 2026, and then they want to add, another gigawatt. So that, this is on the drawing board, but that's kind of getting out a little ahead of ourselves. But here's a company, there are several companies now that are approaching or going past, this 2 gigawatts is a monstrous amount of energy. So, that's especially, as it pertains to high performance computing. Some of these companies have, 20 megawatts in they have big high performance computing contracts. So 2.3 gigawatts is massive. Now, Iris Energy.
Would that be?
Go ahead, George.
How many subdivisions would that be?
Yeah, exactly. Iris Energy is one of the Bitcoin miners that does not hodl any Bitcoin. So, they're not hodling Bitcoin, but you could argue what they are hodling, what they are amassing is this power infrastructure. So the companies that are doing both, right, are already seeing higher valuations, and I think more of that to come. Midway saying that's a very important article. It may mean that the next crypto winter type of thing for Bitcoin might not result in the mining stocks pulling back a ton like happened in 2022. So that is an excellent point, Midway, because, this does change the equation. That was not the last crypto winter. All this energy capacity was actually considered a negative. If that's considered a positive the next time around, and all these companies are multiples larger than they were in the last crypto winter. So you're right. First of all, I think that next crypto winter, if there is one, will be significantly less severe. That's my own opinion. Obviously, none of us have any idea how that will play out. But if the pullback is less and, these Bitcoin miners have other revenue streams, other value that's being built in with these assets that they're building, then that could very well be the case because, we did see of the 19 Bitcoin miners that we followed through the crypto winter, they were all down between 91 and 99%. So this last crypto winter for the Bitcoin miners was devastating. Now, a lot of us dollar cost averaged in on some of the Bitcoin miners. And, if you did that, for a lot of these, you're actually up right now. You're back in the green, even though they're nowhere near their previous highs. So it just depends on when you bought, when you sold. So there's people out there that will curse the name of these Bitcoin miners forever because unfortunately, probably a lot of people bought near the top and they may have got out when it was down 60, 70, 80, 90%. So I feel bad for those people. And I understand it is very hard to hold these through a crypto winter. But to Midway's point, we may not have, we may not have anything that looks like that next time around. All right, let's see what's next. Let's do the marathon or the Riot Bitfarms thing, and then I got another one after that. We're almost at 100 likes. If you're new, if you just got here, or if you haven't smashed the like button, do us a favor. We're at 94 likes. It does help the stream out. It helps the channel out. We appreciate it a lot. Robin is saying stay away from ERCOT. Well, unfortunately, a lot of these companies, ERCOT is the energy in that's the grid in Texas, and a lot of the Bitcoin miners have a lot of their energy in Texas. So, and Midway saying iron looks like a strong buy here. Yeah, and it's had a big it's had almost a 40% pullback off of its high. Having said that, it ran like crazy. We'll just take a quick look at that before we go to the other thing. We looked at that briefly earlier, but from this day, from basically the beginning of May, so over, just a very short period of time here. I'll just go to this high. That's a month and a half, 260% run up in Iris Energy. So yes, it is off of its highs. It's had, conversely, from its peak a few weeks ago, it's down just under 40%. So some of that is pretty natural given the gigantic, very fast run up that this had. I've just bought and held through all of this. So, I've been watching my account go up and down and up and down. And because in my, I believe that my price target for this is a lot higher over the course of the next year. It's my personal opinion. Robin is saying Solana, baby. Harrison saying it ran up way too fast. So a lot of times, I understand there's definitely a lot of these gigantic quick run-ups. It's very predictable that you're going to see a natural pullback, maybe some consolidation. So, for those of you who are experienced in swing trading, there is money to be made in playing those moves. I'm okay with my, we're already from the bottom. I mean, you can see how low this was at $1. So this is already, even with this pullback, this is almost a 10x from the bottom a year and a half ago. And it got up to a 15x. So you can see it's not hyperbole. These companies do this. While the crypto winners are brutally painful, the crypto summer you can get, the last time around, a lot of these 40x'd. So doesn't mean that's going to happen this time, and some of them did even more than that. So we'll see. Only time will tell. But Iron already pulled a 15x in a year and a half. Okay, so let's talk about Bitfarms and Riot because a couple of things happened here.
Riot, I've been waiting for this time. I've been waiting.
Here we go. And Crypto Fever said, just to put a note on that, Crypto Fever said, I am a buyer under $10 on Iron. So I think, and it did pop under 10. And I think, that's from over 15 to under 10 in a couple of week window. That does feel like a really nice buying opportunity. And Crypto Fever just finished that out by saying, not looking to buy any more of any other miner besides Iron going forward. So Crypto Fever's got Iron at the top of the list. And, we just looked at some spectacular performance. Okay, so Riot and Bitfarms, they are knee deep. So here's what happened this week. So Bitfarms had put out a plan, essentially a poison pill to try to stave off Riot's potential takeover. The poison pill kicked in at 15%. So you can see had a trigger, 15% trigger. So here's what happened. Ontario Capital Markets Tribunal has ceased traded Bitfarms poison pill effective immediately. So this plan that Bitfarms put together to try to, have a poison pill kick in at 15% ownership by Riot, that plan is terminated. It's ceased. It failed. So this is a press release that Riot put out, and they say this ruling from the tribunal in favor of Riot's application is a win for all Bitfarms shareholders. The adoption of the off-market poison pill is yet another example of the broken corporate governance that plagues Bitfarm and the ongoing attempts by Bitfarms directors to entrench themselves. We appreciate that the tribunal acted quickly and decisively to remove the poison pill. So they are still looking to add, Riot is still looking to add 3 members to Bitfarms' board of directors, and ultimately they're looking to buy Bitfarms. I'm just going to take a quick break. I got a super chat from a member, Clive, so thank you very much, Clive. Tom, what's your opinion on how the politics surrounding Trump and Harris will affect the cryptocurrency market in the near future? So I'm going to just finish this Riot and Bitfarms conversation, and then we'll talk about that. Clive, thank you for the question. And I do think it's short-term stuff. So I'll give my more full opinion, and we'll see what George thinks about that as well. But in my opinion, all the political stuff, while it may have short-term impact, I'm not sure how much it's going to change the long-term impact, but we will discuss. So Riot is still trying to buy Bitfarms. They have a meeting scheduled. They want to get 3 more members on the board. They want to own Bitfarms. They pulled their offer. They made an offer to buy all the shares for $2.30. Bitfarms rejected that offer. Riot has subsequently withdrawn that offer. That offer to me was an attempt. I think they thought maybe there was an opening to get this at an absolute steal. I have numbers much higher than that in my head, if anything ends up happening at all, but we'll see what everybody else's opinion is on that. So then, in response to that, Bitfarms issued this statement the same day. Bitfarms issued a statement regarding decision by Capital Markets Tribunal of the Ontario Securities Commission that announces adoption of a new shareholder rights plan. So the poison pill was a shareholder rights plan. So the old one's no good. It got rejected. So what do? Immediately, they issue a new one. So this will have to go through the same process. I'm sure that Riot will protest this, and this could get rejected. But I think the biggest difference is this bumps up the poison pill to 20%. And I will say, to Riot's credit, they put out a website, something to the effect of abetterbitfarms.com. And one of the things they mentioned is that these poison pills are typically kick in at 20%, not 15%. So it was an unusual move for Bitfarms to do that. So that got rejected. They've done a new one effective immediately. So, and here we go, let's see. I'm just going to read this. This is the thing right here. The new rights plan has been adopted to ensure, to the extent possible, that all shareholders of the company are treated fairly and equally in connection with any unsolicited takeover bid or other acquisition of control of the company, including the protection against, quote, creeping bids, which involve the accumulation of 20% or more of the company's common shares through purchases exempt from the applicable Canadian takeover bid rules. So it looks like now they're looking at 20% versus 15%. And this bumped from 15 to 20 at one point anyway in their old plan. So I'm not sure how much this moves the story forward at all. To me, what this really says is both sides are dug in, right? On the day this happened, we got a press release from Riot. We got a press release from Bitfarms. This is not over. Riot wants Bitfarms. And I understand why. Bitfarms has growth plans to get to 21 exahash by the end of 2024, and which would be a triple in the year, and then to 35 exahash in 2025. So we see Riot looking at a bunch of different ways to grow their company, in large chunks, in addition to the organic growth that they have with their 2 massive data centers that they own outright in Texas. So Riot is being very active and aggressive. I don't know where this is going to end. I'm going to do a poll. I've said all along at $2.30, I thought that that bid was nonsense. They did that in April privately. They went public with it in the middle of May, about a month later, when Bitfarms had some trouble. They essentially fired their CEO. They were without a CEO. I think Riot saw an opportunity that maybe there was a chance to strike, grab this at some type of deal. It didn't happen in that time frame. Now we're seeing Bitfarms start to execute their plan. They did appoint Ben Gagnon as their CEO, so now they have filled that position. I think with a high-quality individual. That's my personal opinion. So I think we're going to be looking at this the rest of the year. Now, is it going to hold up either company's stock price? I don't know. At one point, Bitfarms, with a $2.30 offer on the table, Bitfarms ran up over $3. So I don't think that this is a drag, 100% drag. But, it's never good to be in these types of disputes. More so, this will affect Bitfarms a lot more than Riot. Riot's doing a lot of other things, and if they continue their own organic growth and have good monthly operational updates, I think they'll be fine. And by the same token, same can be said for Bitfarms. If Bitfarms stays on track and continues to grow, they talked about getting to 12 exahash, so I'm expecting to see 12 exahash. I'm expecting to see another big jump in the amount of Bitcoin. Between May and June, they had a big jump in the amount of Bitcoin they mined. I think between June and July, they should have another big jump. So, if these companies are operating, I think that's above all of this, back and forth that's going on. So this is going to play out. I don't know how it's going to end. Let's just do a quick poll and see what you guys think. So just super simple. Is Riot going to buy Bitfarms? Are they going to be successful buying Bitfarms? We won't even get into at what price. We can talk about that if you guys think that it's going to happen at all. But is this going to end in Riot owning Bitfarms, which essentially means Bitfarms will cease to exist. Its assets will just be, and its Bitcoin mining operations will just become a part of Riot's. So let's get back to Clive had asked, what's your opinion? And again, thanks again for the super chat, Clive. What's your opinion on how the politics surrounding Trump and Harris will affect the cryptocurrency market in the near future? I mean, there's definitely big differences in their opinion on Bitcoin, and we'll have George jump in on this as well. We're getting a little political, George. Getting back to Clive's question. Well, Clive asked, what do you think the short-term implications on, the politics around all of this? So the first thing is we've got Trump talking at the Bitcoin mining conference tomorrow. So, I think between now and the election, if we see things leaning towards Trump, I think, as certain events happen, you'll see certain spikes. We already got one of those. So Trump is considered by far the pro-Bitcoin candidate. And again, whatever your politics are, putting politics aside, we're talking about what is the impact of this on our investments. So, I mean, we've seen the higher probability built in that Trump is going to win the election, the better Bitcoin has done in the short term. So I think that trend will continue between now and the election. But what I will say, I think regardless of what happens in the election, and George may have a difference of opinion on this, I think regardless of what happens in the election, I think that Bitcoin is going to play out this 4-year cycle. I think the adoption, cryptocurrency is here. It's not going anywhere. The adoption rate now versus 4 years ago, cycle over cycle, I mean, it's to say it's exponential. It might be an understatement, right? We're in a totally different place. The genie's out of the bottle. Bitcoin is here to stay. Cryptocurrency is here to stay. To put it in perspective, with an administration and ahead of the the SEC and Gary Gensler that is openly and vocally anti all things cryptocurrency, with that regime in charge, we got a Bitcoin, we got the approval of all the Bitcoin spot ETFs, but more so than that, we got the Gary Gensler SEC that had nothing, was in almost a battle with Ethereum. All of a sudden, on the first date available, all the Ethereum ETFs got approved as well. So we saw even in the party that's considered much less crypto friendly, we're seeing adoption happen. There's just no fighting it. I think they've given up on the fight. That doesn't mean regulations aren't around the corner and things like that, but I think there'll be, some regulations can be healthy and necessary. And I don't think you're going to see any, certainly in the US, you're not going to see any banning of any of this. We're way, way past that, in my opinion. So that's why it's my opinion, regardless of the outcome of the election may change the world in a lot of other different ways. But I think either way, Bitcoin finishes its run. My personal price target, again, not financial advice, I think we're going to get north of $150,000, in the next 15 months, I would say. So that's my personal price target. And, we've gone through this and we could take a vote. Actually, the last time we took a vote, I was on the low side. The majority of people thought we were going to get over $200,000 in this 4-year cycle. So, and just because we all think that doesn't mean it's going to happen. So, bear that in mind. We don't know what we don't know. What do you think, George?
Well, it's a double. So the question is about Bitcoin, correct?
Yes. What's your opinion on how politics will affect? They said the cryptocurrency market, but you can respond to either Bitcoin, cryptocurrency.
Right. So Bitcoin in itself is its own market. Would you agree with that? And then there's cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin is still the Bitcoin dominance is at 56%, to put it in perspective. So yes, right. Bitcoin is the monster.
So two things. Number one, I totally disagree with you, Tom. Just seeing.
I had a feeling.
Totally disagree with you.
Wouldn't be a stream if we didn't get there at some point.
Right. And here's why. Basically, one party has come out and said they want a CDBC for to move forward. Is that correct?
That is true. Or that's the perception, at least.
Right. And then you have another party that doesn't like that doesn't think that's the way to go.
That's outright anti that, for sure.
Anti that. And I think a hybrid approach is the right solution, and no one's talking about that at this point in time. See, we have a problem with our banking system right now, Tom, and I don't know if you agree with it or not, but basically our banks are not solvent currently. And we have a serious problem looming for the next administration. It's really bad. When you have JP Morgan, what's his name? Jamie Dimon coming out and saying, we can't get to the, what was it, 4% reserve that you want us to get to?
Yeah, I mean, they're the big dogs.
That's a problem, Tom. And you have there's so much stuff out there related to crypto that's just, first of all, crypto's in the infant stage still. That's right now. We haven't even, it's not even mainstream yet. Most of the people watching this, we're ahead of the curve when it comes to the technology of crypto. Crypto hasn't even really started to really do what it's supposed to do. And what I love about crypto, it solves a lot of problems, and that's all I'm going to say about crypto in that aspect. It solves a lot of problems, and people should
the blockchain.
Yes, the blockchain, and people don't understand exactly all the benefits from it, unless you're a forward-thinking person. You can eliminate fraud. Let's just put it that way. You can completely eliminate fraud with cryptocurrency. And you can eliminate fraud in the government too, by the way, with cryptocurrency. I don't know if you've thought about this, Tom, but you can totally do away with all the fraud that goes on with our government. You know, they talk about when they spend $1, what percentage of it actually gets to what it's supposed to be used for. And it's something like 6 cents or something like that, because there's just so much, you know, abuse that's involved in the system.
And the irony is they want to sell us that cryptocurrency creates fraud, but really the blockchain is a way to solve fraud. I agree with you on that, George.
It solves fraud to such a degree that they're scared of it. I mean, it makes 100% transparency. Like you could have, I'm not going to go there because I don't want to get shot, but there's just a lot of opportunities that crypto can do. So I disagree with you that there's I believe one is going to go in a negative way of crypto, and one's going to go in a positive way of crypto.
So do you feel like, let me ask you this, do you feel like let's just say it, if the Democrats win the election, do you feel that Bitcoin is not going to play out its 4-year cycle and get to its peak that we're all hoping that it gets to? Is that gonna?
And that's the reason why I said there's two parts of the market. You know what I mean? Because I still believe Bitcoin overall is gonna take off.
So
I actually think move into a crypto. There's going to be a lot of crypto growth here between August and September. I mean, a lot of crypto. I mean, there's going to be more. This is going to be insane. What's going to happen in crypto overall in the next few months.
So you think the difference will be more in the crypto market overall, Bitcoin notwithstanding, the rest of the crypto market,
yes,
you think would suffer?
Yes,
one versus the
I
other.
think there's just so much. I can't unpack it in a 2-minute answer. You just can't unpack. It's so big and it's so monumental. It is just insane what you can do with crypto. You know.
And Midway's pointing out we're over 68,000 right now, 68,200.
Yeah,
so I think you make valid points, George. I kind of answered that question very Bitcoin bias versus the overall crypto universe.
Yeah, I still think Bitcoin's going to do well. I believe Bitcoin's going to be the asset that if you don't have, you're not an elitist. That's what I honestly think with Bitcoin. If you want to be an elitist, if you travel in that circle, at some point in time, there's going to be a parabolic move in Bitcoin that you didn't ever think was possible. It's called the God candle. And when that God candle happens, it's on and it's never coming back. I don't know if that happens a day from now, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. But at some point in time, that is going to happen. And anybody that follows crypto knows exactly what I'm talking about. The God candle is real. And when that happens, it's all over with. You guys can remember, mark this 550, 726, 24. I said it. At some point in time, there will be a God candle for Bitcoin. It could be even 20 years from now. But I would say at the latest, it will be as 20 years.
So can I go? That leads me. I want to show an article because I didn't show you this at all. So this is not, and it goes exactly to what you're saying. Let me just interrupt you for a minute because it's on point. Van Eck,
we should do a poll and see how many people believe in a God candle in Bitcoin.
All right, I'll put that up. Van Eck, which is one of the Bitcoin ETFs, sees Bitcoin hitting $2.9 million by 2050. So you just talked about, you don't know if it's going to be a year or 20 years. Well, here's your 25-year outlook from Van Eck, $2.9 million for Bitcoin. Obviously, that's a long time from now.
Bitcoin isn't even being used the way it was intended to be used for yet, just so you guys know. It's not even close to being used. And I hate that I'm not even going to be, never mind. I'll just say that right now.
How big are we defining a God candle and what time frame? A double up?
I would say a God candle will be over $150,000.
One candle?
One candle. Yep.
In what? One weekly candle? One monthly candle?
1 day.
1 day?
1 day.
You got a really high bar. Let's finish out this poll. We're Riot by Bitfarms, so it's pretty close. 56% think no, but 44% think that deal is going to end up happening.
Guide candle comes when the U.S. government buys BTC. And I'll be honest with you, this is the other thing that people should be scared of. Remember this, not your keys, not in your own wallet. They're not your coins. Don't care what anybody says. If you don't have it in your own custody, then they're not your coins.
I'm going to go way less than what you said. I'm going to say,
do a month.
Will we have a one-day candle greater than 50K? You want to do a 1 week? 1 week.
1 week. Do 1 week. Yep.
1 week candle. A $50,000 1 week candle to me would be a massive move. And then I'll change it to the next.
But Tom, as the price goes up, Tom, the percentage is going to be smaller. You know what I mean? The movements are going to be smaller. You know,
that's
so
right.
If you have a 10%, you know,
right. A $50,000 candle when you're at 50,000 is different than when you're at 250,000, for sure. So I said that will we have a 1 week $50,000 candle in the next 5 years?
That's almost a given.
I'm going to let everybody vote. I'm really surprised at these results. And Iron to 100 said within 20 years, Bitcoin will have a daily candle above 500,000.
Wow.
So that's a buy and hold statement if I've ever heard one.
Sure.
How great would that be? Listen, I hope any of these predictions are right. I'm very bullish, but I tend to be by nature probably more conservative than average. But I think very big things are coming. But these are huge. To me, these are huge numbers. But the other thing is,
all my crypto investments, I don't think I will really receive any of the benefits from them. I think it's all for my kids.
Generational. That's right.
Right.
And Midway saying 50,000 is just 10% of 500,000. So if Bitcoin price gets very high, it could easily move 50 in a single day.
And I think it will move like that, by the way.
So the one thing I will say, this article I'm looking at, Van Eck sees Bitcoin hitting 2.9 million by 2050. While that sounds giant, I think it's going to hit that way before 2050. So let's call it 3 million. I don't know why they decided on 2.9 million. So I'm more bullish than them. This seems like insanely bullish, but it's really, that's 25 years from now. So I think Bitcoin will do better than this. My personal opinion.
Now, listen, I could play the other side of this coin too, of the Bitcoin. If somebody comes out and we find out that Bitcoin was made by some, very unscrupulous actor, Bitcoin could go the exact opposite way too.
Short term or long term?
Long term. It could turn out to be the biggest Ponzi scheme ever in America. I don't think it will be, personally, but it could. It could be like the biggest thing that like we find out the CIA or the FBI was involved in making it and inventing it. And you know what I mean? It could turn to be the exact opposite too.
But even if that's true, I mean, the network is global and, I don't know. I think Bitcoin is mature. I mean, we can't dismiss the chance that this thing goes the wrong way, right? And that could happen with any investment. But I think, to me, Bitcoin's mature enough now. And, the proof of work concept that this have at this point is tried and true. And I just, that's why I'm so bullish on this. And as we see the big money moving in, I don't know how you go backwards from here. Of course, like you just said, anything's possible.
I have more than 50% of my available assets in cryptocurrency. So I think that's high.
So I got somebody who will beat you. Let's go to that right now. Give me 1 second and find that article.
You know, and just, I won't say what I was going to say.
U.S. presidential candidate RFK Jr. says he's fully committed to Bitcoin. And by fully committed, let's see. Quote, I am a huge supporter of Bitcoin. I have most of my wealth in Bitcoin.
Wow.
I am fully committed. So
I'm going to tell you that the Democrats screwed him more than anybody out there, just so you guys all know. That man would be it would be Trump versus Kennedy.
well, with the majority of his wealth in Bitcoin, maybe he's going to have the last laugh on everybody.
Yeah, maybe. But I'm just telling you, they destroy. I mean, there was no primary. There was no better candidate. There was nothing.
Well, he is going to be on the ballot, but obviously, you know, if there's a third party
I don't
here.
think he'll be in all 50 states.
Probably not, and no third party candidate has ever won, you know, in the United States. It's just not a realistic path, unfortunately.
No. And it's sad too, because I mean, you got to get past listening to him speak, but besides that, he's got some really good plans.
Sour Melon Gaming saying, when do you think we'll breach our all-time high? Any guesses?
For this cycle?
So, yeah, 73,800 and change was our high that we hit in March. So when are we going to break out of that? You want to go first or you want me to go?
I'm thinking, you know, it's funny you say that. I think it's going to pump up before the election, and then I think it's going to top before the election, personally, in this cycle.
You think in the whole cycle it's going to top?
No. I take that back. It's just going to peak before the election, and then it's going to come back down into more of a modest range of 60s or where it is right now.
So you think we'll run up to an all-time high, have a pullback, and again, in our 20 months now, we've had 5 pullbacks of between 20 and 27%. So that would be the normal course of things. Before we hit our ultimate high in this cycle, we'll probably have 1 or 2 or 3 20 or 30% pullbacks again, if history is any indicator. So that's something to bear in mind. Look at the charts in the past and you'll see. I think we're going to break out of this range, you know, conservatively. I think we're going to break out of this in September. We've been going sideways by then. It'll be, you know, coming up on 6 months by the end of September. And I think that we will break out before then. So that's my guess. And then we'll see where we go.
Bitcoin is how'd Michael Saylor put it? Bitcoin is my safety plan, or what was it? Bitcoin is my.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the exact quote.
Is it Bitcoin is my plan B or something like that?
All right. Any other thoughts, George? That's everything I had on my list.
Me too. Good stream, Tom. A lot of fun. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, George. Thanks for your time. Thanks to all the members. Special thanks. Thanks for everybody who showed up. Just so we will close it out with this last poll. Will we have a 1-week candle greater than 50K in the next 5 years? 77% think yes. So everybody's on board with you, George, on that one. That will be a great week. I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait either. I'll see you guys. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Yes, everybody have a fantastic weekend. Thanks again for joining.
Tom, what you doing?
What you doing?
Huh?
What this doing?
Oh, no, I do a stream.